Welcome to our channel, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for choosing our channel. Kindly, if you're watching for the first time, hit that subscribe button and click the notification bell so that whenever we do a video like this, YouTube will automatically notify you. And to those who support this channel, I just want to say that I'm really humbled. May God continue blessing you wherever you are. We continue to preach peace during this Ramadan and Easter holidays. Let us ensure that we love our neighbors wherever we are. Regardless of what is going on in the country, we must remain united because we only have one country, which is Kenya. And I want to remind you that there are only two tribes in Kenya. They have and they have not. The rich and the poor. So for the Hustler Nation, don't allow yourselves to be misused to hate your neighbor. And of course, the biggest conversation that is going on now is the impending bipartisan talks between Raila Amolo Odinga and William Samoei Ruto. If you have followed of late, there are two things that are conspicuously coming out. The issue of the handshake and the issue of the server. And many are wondering why William Ruto cannot just appear one day and say, open this server so that I can prove to Raila that I defeated him fair and square. And then there is a clique of the UDA party that does not want to hear anything about handshake. The one that is led by our Deputy President, Rigathi. And you wonder, what is their fear? Many experts continue to weigh in into this debate and they give their opinions. One of them is Ngujiri Wambugu. Ngujiri was a very staunch supporter of Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. He stood all the storms when the mountain switch comes and they made a U-turn when they were supporting William Samoei Ruto. The very few members of parliament then who defended Uhuru Kenyatta to the last minute was Ngujiri Wambugu. But as things turned out, he has now switched camps and he is supporting William Samoei Ruto. He confirms why Mount Kenya fears a handshake. And he confirms that William Ruto and Rigathi must have robbed Raila of his victory with a lot of impunity. This is what Ngujiri Wambugu wrote in his Twitter handle. The headline there is, why Mount Kenya has a political handshake phobia. Rigathi, the headliner, etc. He's got a YouTube channel and he tells people that this weekend, our YouTube video focuses on the following. And I want us to look just at paragraph 1 because it was a very long kind of letter there. And it says that Mount Kenya handshake phobia, that is number 1 that is talking. Our region has this thing about elections. Once they are done, they are done. If you lose, whether you lost fairly or not, move on. Plan better next time. You can't hold everyone up just because you lost an election. If it was stolen, where were you when it was being stolen? Ukichengwa, kubali, learn your lessons. Come back in 5 years. I don't want to move on with that because that alone forms the gist of what I want to talk about. Ngujiri Wambugu is a politician, a staunch politician. He has tasted the trappings of power. He was close to Uhuru Kenyatta when Uhuru was the president of Kenya. But Ngujiri Wambugu says that they have this thing about elections, that once elections are done, they are done. So when you lose, whether you lost fairly or not, then you must move on and accept. Plan yourself in the next 5 years and come back. That is where I have a problem. You know, this is one thing that, this is the defense of the Kenya Kwanza team. They tell Raila Amolo Odinga that elections are done, the IEBC conducted their duties, and they pronounced William Ruto as the winner. Then the next step was, if you were dissatisfied and disgruntled, the law requires that you go to the Supreme Court, and they argue that the Supreme Court looked at all the arguments and all the prayers, and they also came up with one ruling that William Ruto won. They withheld that ruling. It is the same thing that is being said here, that when you lose fair or square, just move on. Ladies and gentlemen, if we want to build a nation, if we want to build a rock firm foundation for our nation, for our future generations, then we must be very careful of what we say today, what we do today, because whatever we do and say today will determine what will happen to the next generation. Today we have young people who are listening to our politicians, and in the digital world they are reading all these messages. And you know what we are teaching them? We are telling them that once an election is done, it doesn't matter whether you are rigged or not. Move on, that is it. This conversation was one of the heated debates in the Supreme Court. And I remember the Deputy Chief Justice Philomena Mwilu was asking this question because the Kenya Kwanza team had argued that Raila Amolo Odinga and the Azimio party did not have agents in Mount Kenya, and that is why they were rigged. And they were arguing that the law provides that you can avail your agents. So in the absence of your agents, if anything happens, you can't come back and tell people that you are rigged. And then Philomena Mwilu was asking, doesn't the law require that the IEBC should ensure that they procure a free, fair, and verifiable election regardless of the presence or absence of certain agents? Because this IEBC is a team that is paid heavily by taxpayers' money. And the reason why they are paid is because Kenyans expect them to be on top of their affairs, to ensure that whether they are agents or not, they must conduct themselves in a manner that is bipartisan, in a manner that is neutral. They must ensure that the election that they procure is free, fair, and verifiable, to avoid any loss of lives and IDPs within the country. So for Ngujiri Wambugu to come and tell us that Raila should move on because he was defeated, whether fair and square, this is totally wrong. Today we have youths who have got political ambitions. You're telling them that what they should be doing is to organize for goons, is to organize how they can capture the people who are mandated to officiate our elections. Once they capture them, they will be announced winners, and you tell your opponent, move on, wait for the next 5 years. He is confirming that William Ruto and Rigathi Gachagua rigged elections. And despite the fact of all this, he's telling Raila, move on, because where were you when you were being rigged? This is what Rigathi has always said. You move on, wait for the next 5 years. William Ruto has said it before. Wait for me in 2027, I will still defeat you. We must take a paradigm shift from what has been happening. We cannot have a country where people wake up in the morning to go and vote, but their votes don't count. Let me tell you, if you see what happened in Nigeria, people are disillusioned because there was a turnout of only 35% of voters. Why? Because they feel that their votes don't count, and that is what will happen in Kenya. You will realize that people don't go to vote because they know very well that our elections are already predetermined. Ngujiri Wambugu is saying something there about the presence of the deep state, because Uhuru Kenyatta was there with Raila Amolo Odinga and Uhuru at the deep state. Let me tell you something today. The deep state was with Raila Amolo Odinga. The difference between the Kenyan deep state and the higher deep state was the USA and Britain. And this is where the mistake was. You know, Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto were given their victory in 2013 and 2017 by the US. You are all aware that this Delaware senator, the US senator who came into the country to try and talk to Raila, was there in 2017. And they held talks between Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Amolo Odinga, and Raila accepted a handshake. So Uhuru was given their victory by the USA. That's why Chris Coons came back to try and convince Raila and persuade him for another handshake, but he refused. So when the USA approached Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, they told him, "We gave you this victory. Now that you have finished your term, keep off from your succession politics." And this is the reason why people like Matiang'i, remember Matiang'i was in charge of security. But did you see who was in control? The person who was in control of security was not even the Inspector General, Mutambei. The person who was in charge was not even the Inspector General. It was the Deputy Inspector General, Nor Gabo. And this tells you very well that this deep state was divided into two. There were those who were very close to Raila Amolo Odinga, but they knew they could do nothing. All the people, the former DCI, George Kinoti, the Inspector General Mutambei, Fred Matiang'i, people like Joe Musheru, who said that they were in charge of the ICT, could not do anything because America and Britain and the whole of Europe had signed a deal with William Samoei Ruto that we will accept LGBTQ, we will accept GMO, we will give them contracts, we will move away from the East, China and Russia, and we will do business with them. This is why there's nothing Uhuru Kenyatta could do. He was just told, keep off your succession politics and let us manage it. So there were people who are managing this. This is why people like Meg Whitman pitched camp in Bomas when tallying and verification was taking place. Diplomats are not supposed to be in Bomas when tallying and verification and counting is taking place. They should keep away and wait to be invited on the day when declaration is taking place. So Uhuru Kenyatta was with Raila. This is my personal opinion. It is only that there were higher powers. And Gujiri is crying for that they were defeated with all the deep state. And this is what they have been saying. So Kenyans must take a paradigm shift. We cannot continue to bungle our elections and tell the loser that you wait for the next 5 years, even when we know that the elections have been rigged. And there is a rallying call. Open the server so that we can know the winner of these elections. So the only thing that will separate the real winner and the thief is this server. We cannot wait for 2027 because if we do, the same thing will happen. Those who have signed deals with the USA, those people have got the deep state, and those people have captured the IEBC and the Supreme Court. And you know that William Ruto is in control of the IEBC, is in control of the police now, is in control of the judiciary. He will still win. Then we will tell the loser, wait for the next 5 years. We need to do something the right way. We need to ensure that we get electoral justice. And this is why Raila Amolo Odinga is told, don't even negotiate. Don't go for this bipartisan negotiations. They will yield to nothing. Let us go back to the real thing. Open the server. For electoral justice, it is just opening the server. There are no two ways about it. I don't know what you think, ladies and gentlemen. Kindly share with me in the comment section.